getting me live. Some water.
You're listening to EU Watchdog Radio.
Hi, Pascoe.
Hey, Joanna. How you doing?
I'm good.
You good? Yeah.
And today we're recording live in person. This is me tapping Pascoe.
Oh my God! I hope that picks up on the camera. Camera, what is it? Microphone. Yeah. Just so used to the big cameras, you know. Such a star these days. Yeah.
So today we're going to be doing more of a conversation rather than me just asking a series of questions to Pascoe, because today's episode is about something we worked on together. And work is the correct verb to use in this situation.
A lot of work. Yeah.
It took a minute to have the final piece ready, and we are talking about our amazing documentary,
The Scramble for Hydrogen in South Africa. Yeah, our labour of love. 1.5 years later.
Love, sweat and tears.
Yeah, we have definitely sweated and bled for it. But it's just come out in a cinema near you. If you happen to live in the Matonge in Brussels, and we're around on Wednesday the
27th.
That's a Thursday. Yeah, damn, I got it wrong. So if you're around last Thursday at the time of recording, you might have seen it. And tonight we're doing an online global premiere, but you will hopefully be able to see it close to where you are, or put it on. Why not? Come and put on a version of the film, show it to your local community and group. But maybe you want to know what it's about first. Yeah.
Sure, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Just a little point of order. When Pascoe says that tonight we're going to be doing an online screening, it is not tonight when you listen to this, because this will be published 1 week from tonight. But yeah, there was an online screening in the recent past. You can consider it like that.
So just humour me, go along with me. It's been a long year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So what it is all about? We did a documentary where we went to South Africa to listen to the frontline communities who are going to be affected by the projects around green hydrogen that the European Union is pushing for. And yeah, we wanted to hear from them what they thought about it, how the process was going, and if they wanted to have to be in the middle of a green hydrogen hub or not.
Yeah, so this is because the EU has these huge plans to import millions and millions and millions of tons of green hydrogen from countries across the global south, 10 million tons by 2030 to be exact, and is selling it as this like win-win. You know, the EU is going to decarbonise its economy, it's going to be great, we're going to go clean and green, and then in countries like South Africa or Chile, or we're looking at Morocco, Namibia, like all over North Africa, supposedly it's going to be a win-win because they're going to have clean industrial development. But how true was that? I mean, we didn't hear anything from South Africans or South African communities here in Brussels, so we wanted to go down and find out what was the truth on the ground, what had people heard. Yeah, and like you said, did they even want this? But yeah, maybe it's worth, when did we get this idea? We were we've been working on green hydrogen already, particularly North Africa, and seeing that all these plans in North Africa were for called development, pushed by the German government, that North Africa would produce lots of green hydrogen, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia and Algeria. And actually it was all for export. Like, it wasn't about local development and local consumption, it was all for export. But they were all quite authoritarian regimes, so being able to find out what was going on the ground, and talk to people was a bit tricky. But we ended up in Vienna. There was the European Gas Conference taking place, and myself and Joanna were there. There was like a big counter summit, and then a big direct action. So you should check out our Instagram. So quite cool images and videos of what was going on the ground. But we were running a session on the Dash for Gas. So the the EU's dash for gas, and part of this dash for gas, particularly in Africa, you know, since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the EU deciding to get off Russian gas, it claims it needs new gas sources. So asked industry, where should we get our gas from? A lot of this was Africa. So there was a huge delegation, really inspiring, of African activists from across the continent who were in Vienna taking part. And we ran a session talking about the dash for gas, talking about hydrogen. And afterwards someone came up and was like, you know what's going on in South Africa? Like, there's huge green hydrogen plans. And I have to say, in my ignorance, I didn't know at the time. So got talking. This was Neville Van Roy from an organisation called the Green Connection. And that, maybe a year and a half later, transpired into us going and visiting, because like exchanging emails, exchanging contacts, finding out what the situation was, talking to some other allies of ours in South Africa, we said, we need to go and visit. You know, we need to try and get the reality from the ground and bring it back to Brussels. So yeah, we made our way to South Africa. It was quite an eventful trip. What was it? Yeah, I mean, how did it begin?
It began in the worst possible way. So me and Pascoe, we met in The Hague, where our colleague Belen also lives, and where there was also a direct airplane to Cape Town from Amsterdam. And so we got there the night before, because our plane was like very early in the morning.
Stupid o'clock.
Yeah. And while we were in the line, in the queue to get to pass through customs, like for them to check your bags and stuff, I got a text message from Pedro, who was going to be filming with us. So he was going to be doing the filming effectively.
None of us knew how to make a documentary apart from Pedro. It's quite important.
Yeah, I did, but Pascoe ignores that fact. But still, Pedro knows better than me, much better than me. And I got a text message from him saying, I'm so sorry, I missed my flight, because he was coming from Lisbon to The Hague, and then we would fly all together. I missed my flight. His flight should have left at like 5 a.m. from Lisbon. But no worries, I got already a new ticket. And so I will arrive, I don't know, in the middle of the evening to Cape Town. And yeah, so our plans looked like they were completely going downhill.
No cameraman. And we were told, do not drive at night, like, don't travel. Oh my God, yeah. Anyway, he ends up getting on a bus for 12 hours.
Yeah, to the middle of the Northern Cape province.
Middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Literally the middle of the desert.
And then our friends from Green Connection. Yeah. Had to drive 5 hours in the middle of the evening to go and pick him up from, I don't know, what we imagine to have been a deserted bus station, and then 5 hours back. Yeah. So it was the worst possible start almost.
But we
then,
pulled it back.
Yeah,
we pulled it back.
Yeah. Then, like the following morning, we were all up and running and super operational and ready to interview and to talk to people and to film. And poor Pedro, he had a little bit of a sleep deprivation, but I mean,
he got over it. He did great considering.
Yeah.
So we met everyone in the Northern Cape. So one of the key things we decided, we were going to do a tour across South Africa, start in sort of northwest, where there's this huge export terminal planned with they wanted just for the renewable electricity. So to make green hydrogen, you use renewable electricity and you run it through electric current through water, doing something called electrolysis, and you split water, which is H2O, into the hydrogen and the oxygen. So you need a lot of renewable electricity if you're going to do this. And they wanted to use, in the Northern Cape, which is like a biodiverse hotspot in a place called the Rustenveld, UNESCO, biodiversity hotspot.
The only arid biodiversity hotspot in the world.
Check that out. And they wanted to cover loads of it in wind turbines and solar panels. It was going to be the land mass, a 12th of the size of Belgium. I mean, it was huge. It was something like, was it 22 times the size of Paris?
Yeah.
just for renewable electricity to then make green hydrogen to then export, like not even for local consumption, like huge electricity problems in terms of people don't have access to clean, affordable electricity in much of South Africa. And they were going to put all of this in to export it. So we were there visiting this place where they wanted to export it from, Buchabai. But one of the key tools we were using was workshops. We were sort of doing community workshops, both to share the information that we had on what the EU was getting up to, and then gather what do people know, what they've been finding out, what they've been told. You know, had the developers come and told them anything? And no, I mean, literally, yeah, the conversations where people had not been informed. Yeah,
there were supposed to have been held public consultation processes. None of that happened. And not only that, but also we learned, well, while we were there, that people were being prevented from entering the area that was limited for the green hydrogen projects. So there were indigenous communities who were being prevented from entering the area that they had won through court battles.
Yeah. Since apartheid. I mean, since apartheid, they've been fighting to win back their land that they've been confiscated from them for over 70 years for diamond mining. And now this comes along and basically takes their land again. So it's, big fights going on.
Yeah. And then also the fisher folk also told us another side of the story. Yeah,
I mean, so we interviewed people from the Okotua Fisher Folk Cooperative in the Northern Cape in this town called Port Nolloth. There's more about it in the film. But yeah, their livelihoods are massively threatened. Already you've got global warming, meaning, currents are changing, migration patterns are changing, but the fact they were going to build a massive port, have big boats exporting hydrogen, it was going to hugely disrupt their local fishing grounds. And then on top of that, as I said, to make green hydrogen, you need to split water with electricity. Like, as Joanna just said, it's an arid biodiversity hotspot. It's like there's no water. That's the main issue. So, like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to get the water from? There's already huge water stress. So, something they decided that, we're going to get it from the sea. We're going to use desalination, get it from the sea. But when you do desalination, to take out all the salt, you end up with brine, and it's basically a toxic substance. And then we're going to dump it back in the sea. And that has a huge impact on the local marine ecosystems. It's toxic. So you are also killing fish there or pushing them away. So they were destroying subsistence livelihoods that already existed on the Northern Cape with a promise of jobs that were just not materializing. So there's a huge threat to people's livelihoods, which is one of the main reasons people were saying no. And also for the fisher folk, this was the latest in a long line of threats. The diamond mining had already been having an impact. You had Shell and Total trying to drill offshore as well, so they've been fighting offshore drilling. You had commercial fishing fleets, so they've been fighting those. So this is just a long line of extractivism that these communities have been facing and standing up to, really successfully. But it's just one thing on top of another, yeah.
Yeah, because diamond mining, and I did not know this at all before going, also happens in the sea.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised. And in fact, it's one of the funny shots in our video that we have a beautiful aerial shot, filmed by a drone of diamond mining boats that Pascoe kept on demanding that we remove from the film because we're not talking about diamond mining in the sea and it makes no sense and people will see it and it will not make sense. And then me and Belen and Pascoe were all me and Belen and Pedro were all in favor of keeping it just because it's a beautiful shot. It's really wonderful.
Shot. Beautiful from the above and nothing to do with green hydrogen. And it basically looks like a bunch of tampons. I mean, it is. They have this, it looks like a bit of a net that comes out from the back of these ships, and there's loads of them.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of tampons floating on the water.
Beautiful shots.
Yeah.
It stayed in the film, though.
You'll see it. We don't explain what it is, but now you know. If you watch the film, you'll now know, that's diamond mining. That's not just tampons. Okay.
And then from there, from Port Nolloth, we went to Johannesburg for another workshop where we met also some incredible people.
Yeah, so that's organised with Groundwork South Africa, which is the national group of Friends of the Earth South Africa, Friends of the Earth International. so it is Friendly of South Africa, and they brought communities from across eastern part and northeastern part of South Africa to this workshop in Johannesburg. So communities from the Mpumalanga province, like Ermelo, which is a coal mining region which is now facing green hydrogen. So what they're looking to do is turn green hydrogen, combine it with nitrogen and make green ammonia. And this is what they use a lot in fertilizers and other things. So this is they're trying to make green ammonia in Ermelo. We had communities coming from the Limpopo province, from a group called the Mining Affected Communities United in Action, Makua, who came down as well. And then we also had groups from the VAL Triangle, so the VAL Environmental Justice Alliance, who are there as well. And all of these groups are facing multinational corporations trying to use green hydrogen to continue with their dirty business models, continue with business as usual, be that platinum mining, be that what they're doing in Vega. It was for ArcelorMittal to continue with its steelworks. Enertag, which is a sort of a German renewables company, which is teaming up with Sasol as well. Sasol is a big petrochemicals giant. It previously made oil and gas from coal, and now is claiming it's going to use green hydrogen to make cleaner fuels. It seems from what we saw a huge amount of greenwashing involved. But it was incredibly inspiring to hear from these communities and how they're fighting back, and how they've been through this fight many times. They live in sacrifice zones. Under apartheid, these areas were consigned to huge pollution and industrial development, and the communities had their human rights completely abused. And it hasn't changed since the end of apartheid. It's okay, maybe the face of who's doing the exploitation has changed, but it's still the same stories being told. It's still the same development models that puts exports above local needs and local development. So it was, but wow, so inspired by everyone we met.
Maybe we can segue into what we expect to achieve from the film. Definitely.
So part of the film was finding out what the reality was like on the ground, because in Brussels we just didn't hear community voices. You hear about all these plans the EU has. Oh, we're going to import hydrogen from everywhere. It's going to be this win-win for countries like South Africa. But communities who are facing these projects, who are having their land taken, their water taken, their resources taken, and their livelihoods ruined, their voices were completely absent. So one of our goals was to bring those voices back to Brussels, into the halls of power, and make sure decision makers here in Brussels, in the EU, are aware of what's going on. So that's goal number one. And we already did, in fact, a screening in the European Parliament before the film even came out, last July, because there's a European Parliament that has a delegation to South Africa. So we showed it to that group, which is really powerful. And we want to do some more screenings in Parliament, in Brussels, but we need to get out of Brussels. A lot of this is coming from the national level. So one of the big pushers of the green hydrogen agenda is Germany and the German government in order to decarbonise German industry. But what they don't tell you is, whilst they want to decarbonise German industry, that is at the expense of local communities in the global south, not just by taking their resources, their water, their hydrogen, but also, all that electricity could go towards energy access. It could go towards cleaning up their own energy systems and decarbonising themselves. South Africa has its own climate targets that it needs to meet, but no, instead, it's the same colonial model that we've seen time and time again. They're going to extract those resources for the benefit of the global north. So it's more extractivism. So we need to get this film to Germany. We've been working with some German partners like Attack Germany. They've been working with groups in Namibia who have been doing a speaker tour in Germany because there's a big green hydrogen project there. So we want to make sure we show this film in Germany. Maybe do a little tour, myself and Joanna, get on the road. And where else are we thinking of going?
Well, we do have some plans already lined up for Vienna, Czech Republic.
Hopefully Italy, the Netherlands, working with groups there, because the Netherlands, in fact, the Port of Rotterdam will be one of the key importers to then send it on to Germany or to use it in the Netherlands. So working with groups there, quite exciting. The UK, whilst the UK is not in the EU, it also has green hydrogen plans and is very much influenced by what the EU is doing. So we're going to have quite a few screenings there.
And then obviously the Iberic Peninsula.
Obviously, which has huge green hydrogen, or still has huge green hydrogen plans itself for production, but also there will be some importing. So working with groups there.
Yeah.
We have some great connections from previously working on gas and fighting pipelines and LNG terminals, so liquefied natural gas, sort of gas import terminals. So yeah, really hoping to link up with these groups, because that's a lot of the people we want to talk to are those who have been working on climate justice issues, have been working on fighting gas, because green hydrogen has been presented as like the alternative to gas. This is the clean alternative, but that's a complete lie. I mean, aside from the fact that it leads to huge human rights abuses and resource extractivism, what we're seeing is it's also leading to more fossil fuels. It's been pushed by the fossil fuel industry to claim, oh yeah, we're going to move to green hydrogen, let's build loads of infrastructure, pipelines and etc. for green hydrogen. But it doesn't exist. I mean, and maybe this is worth saying, like when we were in South Africa, none of the projects existed. Like the Buchabai, nothing.
Not even the construction has started. Like there's nothing going on.
So I just spoke to someone near Buchabai, and he said, what is there? The local agency dealing with roads, they're now upgrading the roads to be able to bring in big trucks and what have you. So they're slowly doing it, but that's where they're hiring people to do that at the moment. But in other places, no, there's some renewables has been built in Ermelo, but it's really limited in everywhere we've been seeing. So despite all the bluster, all the hype, it's not really happening. So if there's no green hydrogen happening, what's going to supply the demand for hydrogen? It's going to be fossil fuel hydrogen, because that's where all of our hydrogen pretty much comes from today.
What's the percentage?
Around 99% globally.
Yeah.
More than 99%. I mean, the way you make hydrogen in the EU, at least, it comes from gas, which is made up of methane, which is the molecule is CH4. So you take off the H and then you send the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And so what industry says is, oh yeah, we'll do that, but we'll capture the CO2 using a failed, expensive technology called carbon capture and storage.
What is carbon capture and storage, Pascoe?
It's been
what
going on
is
for
this
so
dystopian,
long. Oh my God!
Amazing.
It's been around for decades, and it's failed to capture anywhere near what it promises to. It's like led to huge public subsidies for the fossil fuel industry and big polluters to like do pilots, and we were giving millions and millions, maybe even billions, back in the sort of 2010s, and it was a complete failure. None of the projects got to commercial stage. The European Court of Auditors said this is a waste of money, we shouldn't be doing it, and yet, it's Groundhog Day. We find ourselves back in the same position. Oh yeah, we're now going to like capture emissions using carbon capture and storage, which has failed. But anyway, this is the way the fossil fuel industry delays us moving away from fossil fuels, and green hydrogen is the Trojan horse that means it can carry on using fossil fuel hydrogen and therefore staying in business. So this is the main thing. So a lot of groups that have been working on gas have been talking about green hydrogen as a potential solution. And so we need to show that this is not a real solution. This is a Trojan horse for more fossil fuels. So we want to talk to those groups, make sure we get to those groups who've been working already on gas and kick off the conversation, because it is a little bit niche, don't you think?
Yeah. It's so difficult to explain, because not only it makes no sense, but also it does not exist. Like there's no technology to produce it in an effective way. It's just such a hyper bubble. It's like the emperor with no clothes kind of story.
But people are beginning to call it out. I mean, we've been calling it out for a while now, but like investors are calling it out. Like all the investments are failing. All these companies are failing that are supposed to be producing green hydrogen. The EU's green hydrogen plans, I mean, they're a joke. Even the hydrogen industry said, which is, I find this hilarious, the Hydrogen Europe, one of the big lobbies behind hydrogen that's been like writing all the documents and the roadmaps for the EU's hydrogen plans, it said itself, the EU is going to miss its 2030 targets by more than 90%. This is like, wow. And again, the European Court of Auditors said that the EU needs to get realistic on its hydrogen plans. So,
but Ursula recently said that she's not that worried about carbon emissions, right?
No, really depressing. So imagine, COP30 is happening, the UN climate talks, everyone's talking about a roadmap to shift away from fossil fuels. How do we transition away from fossil fuels? And whilst her negotiators are there trying to negotiate for one, she comes out while she was in fact in South Africa at the G20, and she says, we're not fighting fossil fuels, we're just fighting their emissions. So this is a green light for fossil fuel hydrogen. It's a green light for what the fossil fuel industry has been pushing forever.
As long as you have CCS after.
Yeah, as long as you have failed CCS, which is never living up to its potential. And what it means is, we're just going to carry on with the same fossil fuel economy, not move away, not capture emissions. Like, just as a little bit of science, a guy called Robert Howarth at Cornell University did a study and looked at the carbon footprint of hydrogen. And so you got green hydrogen, and then you got fossil hydrogen with CCS, and then you got fossil hydrogen without CCS. And you'd expect, fossil hydrogen with CCS would have a much lower carbon footprint. But he found that, using hydrogen made from fossil gas with CCS actually has a carbon footprint 20% bigger than just using gas. So as a factory says, we're going to stop using gas to heat things up for in our industrial process, we're going to use hydrogen, fossil hydrogen with CCS, the emissions will be even higher doing that than just using gas. So it's an industry ploy to stay in business whilst pretending to be like clean and green and all these things. I mean, it's just pure greenwash. Yeah.
Indeed. And as we are speaking, I'm reminded, so during the process of editing the film, we had to have some really difficult decisions, so that the tampon boat / diamond mining boat stayed in the film, but we had to do some really gutting decisions of things to exclude. And one of them was our visit to Soweto, where we interviewed someone living there who had solar panels in their rooftop, and it was a clear example of how the renewable electricity and how the solar energy that is being produced in South Africa should be used by South Africans.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, if you're going to tackle the lack of electricity access, the fact that much of it comes from coal today, from their big energy utility Eskom, that people's electricity prices are too high, that they often have blackouts or brownouts, this is clear. The same people who are fighting against Eskom and the pollution from it and the high prices, they're the ones who are now installing solar. And it's, if we're going to transition away, you also have to think who owns and controls the energy system. At the moment, it's owned by big multinationals. If you look at the green hydrogen being being proposed, it's all the same big multinationals. It's not going to the people. So we want an energy system that is owned and controlled by the people who are using it. So we want to see energy access. I mean, talking to allies on the ground, they're talking about energy access, people's energy access coming first and foremost, what are local energy needs? And that's a key thing. So we're seeing what are the local development needs in South Africa, local industry needs, people's needs, and they're not doing this via a very broken energy market. We need democratic ownership and control, and that's something supported by the trade unions as well. So this is not pie in the sky. We have examples across Europe as well, but South Africa, I mean, the people who've been fighting for against apartheid, against extractivism, for social and environmental justice, for economic justice, this is a core part of it, is making sure we have the ownership of not just the production, but also the distribution and distribution of energy. So democratic ownership and control.
Yeah, so if you want to organize a screening near you, you can reach out to us. I was trying to find the URL for the film.
The link that I couldn't find while we were recording is corporateeurope.org/hydrogen-film.
And if you want to organize your own screening, with your group of friends or just your own private screening, go ahead and contact us, and we have a kit that we can send to people to help them with their screening. if you want, I don't know, we can also go and do a screening with you.
You
if
can
you
get a Joana and Pascoe coming to a screening near you.
Yes.
It's on YouTube, so do check it out on YouTube. We've got subtitles in
Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, Dutch, German, Italian, Arabic, and potentially we'll get it in Czech as well.
Yeah. And if you want it in another language, get hold of us. If you're able to help, that'd be brilliant. We want to get this film global because the threat is global and the solution is global. That solution being global is us, and us all standing up together. And we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on the film. Go watch the film first and foremost. It's only half an hour. Tell us what you think. Leave comments either underneath this podcast or on the YouTube page. Do get hold of us and let's make this happen, because it's worth saying, like, this is like one part of the campaign. So this is a really important tool to raise awareness, but then we're trying to put pressure. So already more than 135 organizations have written an open letter to the Commission President von der Leyen, to the Commissioner for Energy, Teresa Ribera, and others, calling on them to scrap their green hydrogen import plans, because that's what's driving this. It's the EU that's driving this, and so groups from across the world have written calling on them to scrap their plans. That's been for organisations, civil society organisations, grassroots groups, but we also have a petition for everybody, for all of us. So we're trying to get people to sign the petition. We'll put the link in our little bio underneath. Please do sign the petition, spread the word.
And the petition is to demand the EU to scrap its green hydrogen import target. So, I mean, we hope you give us the benefit of the doubt, but still watch the film, and after watching it, you can make up your own mind. But
Exactly.
sign the petition.
Sign the petition. Hopefully we've convinced you on this podcast as well. I mean, maybe not. We didn't want to give it all away, so you've got to go watch the film. This is like a little teaser. We hope we whet your appetite.
And see you soon.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening until here. This was the last episode of the year, but not the last episode of our podcast. Stay tuned. Next year, we'll bring you again more podcasts on how EU policies affect your daily life.